This meeting is being recorded.
And here's a Neary. Let's get a Neary on the boat before we leave the dock. There she comes. Aniri, are you up there somewhere?
Pranam, yes. Thank
Namaste. Oh,
you.
look at you. You've moved north.
I have. It's getting too hot here.
Yeah. Keep moving. All right. Well, we are picking up in Sri Nisargadatta's I Am That. We are on chapter 64. About just shy of probably a page or two from the end of it. Who's Nan? Just a moment, we've got a person. Is Nan here? Are you in, Nan?
Hi, Swamiji. This is Nandini. I don't know why my name comes up like that.
Oh, you can change it just by right clicking on your window and going to the very last command that says rename.
Okay.
If you want to, otherwise. All right. Well, welcome aboard, Nandini. All right, so last week I want to go over the last question that was asked last week because it's a very important, pertinent question. The questioner was asking, he says, how does one reach the supreme state? Right? And this is going to tie in with the rest of this conversation. It's interesting because uh, the books are sort of talking about the things that the people that are around me here in Santa Barbara are asking and curious about. Uh, and so that always gives me an interesting feeling because it really when you watch and notice things like that, you really get the understanding that Mother is got things going, and that she's not doesn't just teach us in a class, that the events in the world and the social occurrences in the world and our own personal interactions and life. Uh, Quite often, Mother is working from several different angles at the same time to move us forward. So, in this question, how does one reach this supreme state? And Maharaj says by renouncing the lesser desires, right? Renouncing those things that are only that are what would you say, inauthentic desires, because you're desiring something that really doesn't have anything to do with you, because you're serving a desire of the body or a desire of the mind, because you are desireless in your nature. You as the self within you, that third component of you, right within you. It's actually, I don't know what proportions they take up since it's all illusory, but that part of you inside that desires is really inspired by what it intuits about its nature. If you look at the desires, the inauthentic desires, they're inauthentic because they're not actually a desire for the thing that we're identifying with, for the thing that we think it is that we want. There's a quality of something in that thing that we think that we want. And the quality that's being reflected to us by that object is usually a fulfillment of our nature. A lust for pleasure is just a desire for the bliss that is naturally yours. A hunger for relationships is a hunger for the oneness that we know is naturally ours. For our desire for wealth, is a desire for that omnipotence that is our nature, right? And so if you look at all the things that are that are deluded self desires, you find out that they're just a bunch of shiny little things that are reflecting something else to us, reflecting a part of our nature back to us. And that's why we desire them. And we come to this through our constant discernment. It's not obvious at first. You really have to look very carefully at desire and what initiated it, where did it arise from within you, and sit and make a little bit of a meditation of what exactly it is that you want from that object of desire. Right? That's why he calls them the lesser desires, because they're desires that aren't real. they're a mistake on our part. Or we call it delusion. We've gotten drunk and decided that we really did want to sleep on top of the water fountain for some reason. And so we desired a comfortable water fountain. But there's an absurdity to it, an obvious absurdity. And you'll realize it when you're no longer in a drunken stupor in the morning and you wake up in the water fountain. It's not going to work out for you. And so this is our discernment. And this is really the way forward. Renounce the things that are untrue about you, that are inauthentic. By remembering that it didn't serve you last time, it's not going to serve you this time. Remembering that you loved your new car for exactly a week the last time, and then it just became the car. And so don't let the idea of a new car start wooing you. Just realize that's just a car. It's a silly thing to desire. It comes, it goes, it happens, it doesn't, whatever. And so just renouncing, first discerning, seeing, and then renouncing these lesser desires. And this is a very interesting thing that he says. I don't think that I've heard this said before. He says, as long as you are pleased with the lesser, you cannot have the highest. Right? It's kind of like once you've got your arms full, you can't add anything to it. And if you've gone through the grocery store and you've picked up an armful of paper towels, of course, they give you a basket for that because the world always has an answer. But when you fill your hands with inauthentic desires and you fill your life with inauthentic pursuits for those desires, you're missing the boat. You're missing the boat, right? You're picking up and being distracted by something that doesn't matter, something that can't deliver on its promise. And as long as you're content with that or happy in that, you're not going to set it down. And if you don't set it down, there's no way for you to hold what mother's giving you, right? And so she says, you cannot have the highest. Whatever pleases you keeps you back, right? Keeps you back because you're being pleased by it is also an illusion because it will not last. It does not make you content. It just fills you for a while like a good sandwich. And then a few hours later, you're looking for another one, right? And the same one won't do it again. So whatever pleases you keeps you back. So when you're pleased, don't find some center in it, but see it. See that you're finding your refuge in something other than God, right? And that's well, in reality, it's a dangerous, not a well, a dangerous thing, I guess, except that we're not really ever in danger. Because our souls, our self, cannot be touched, cannot be burned, cannot be wedded, cannot be affected by Maya. Only the mind and the body can be affected by this manifested world, right? And so if you remember that, the world cannot touch you. These events cannot touch you. And ultimately, these events have nothing to do with you. They're very much like the movie that you go to. Even though you weep in the movie, it's not an authentic weeping because you're not in pain. But you've been hypnotized by the movie to identify with the pain of the characters. And so you weep, right? And so it is in our waking life, our waking dream here. We identify with the body and we feel its sickness, and so we suffer. We identify with the mind. We feel its happiness and its sadness, and so we suffer. But really, we come to find out that after this body drops off, what did it have to do with me? All right. You see that when this body drops off, if you're aware at the time, if you're staying conscious, you're not running into a delusion. When the body dropped off, you realize, wow, I've had dozens of these things. And they were different colors and they were different genders and they were different ages and different stories. But what did they have to do with me? When you stand there in infinite self, content in yourself, in bliss, in your being, what? There's no more a body to make you discontent. There's no more a mind to manipulate your moods. Now you are the self, right? You're free. And from that perspective, you think, God, I worried so much about that little piece of earth, that body. That thing, I took such good care of that thing, even though it was inevitable that it would have its undoing. And oh, how I struggled through that undoing. But see, it has nothing to do with us, right? I know that's just preacher speak because how hard that is to actually see, but it's very true. And we come to that through this discernment. Whatever pleases you keeps you back until you realize the unsatisfactoriness of everything. That's a funny teaching right there. Until you find the unsatisfactoriness. Now, it's not meaning that you have to be unsatisfied about everything. It's not saying that. It's not saying that we all should run around completely unsatisfied. What it's saying is that we should not be finding our satisfaction. We should not be calling things that are temporary satisfying. We should not be taking comfort in things that have expiration dates. We shouldn't be collecting things that cannot deliver on what they promise. Right? That's what he's saying. And there's nothing in this material, in this manifested world that can give you what you're seeking, that can fulfill a need truly, except for the one and only. And unfortunately, a lot of times we just sort of think this is religion, but except for the divine, our divine nature, that which is within us, right? And that's the lesson of the Vedanta. You need nothing. You do not need to run anywhere for your satisfaction. You don't need to accomplish anything for your satisfaction. You need to accept your satisfaction. You need to accept it and not resist it, not come up with reasons that you're not allowed to be happy right now, right? You can be happy because you decided to be happy and you're like, oh, that's not real happiness. It doesn't have a cause. It does have a cause, and God herself is that cause and is everywhere present and always perfect, right? And this is the only salvation in this life. I lived 35 of my years on my own out in the world. And I see so clearly and saw so clearly that the struggle to have a meaningful and fulfilling life is real. The struggle to find any kind of solace, to any kind of, even finding good friends are just it's horrendously difficult out there. And I just remember the bitterness of my life. Right? I just remember the frustration and how restless that caused my mind to be. I had everything. It was really and truly, I had everything except for inner peace, except for a knowledge of God, a working knowledge of God. I had a huge inventory of information about the divine, but nothing that I could hold on to, nothing that I could experience, nothing that actually was making a difference in my being. Right. And so I look now, I joined the monastery. Now it's been 27 years in the monastery. I love to say that. I'm not sure I ever thought that I would be able to say that. In these 27 years, this is not a boast, and I'm not putting a carrot out in front of you. But I'm saying I have found the authentic. I have found something that can bliss you to tears in a moment, take you from sadness to blissful tears with a simple thought, a change in attention. This is how we know, this is how I know that God dwells within, that simple attention is all that's necessary. Take my mind off of the thing that is making me believe I'm incomplete, or making me believe that I'm hurting or I'm hungry or whatnot. And take those things off, take my eyes off of those things. We struggle when friends aren't doing well, when family's not doing well, when all of those things. If we focus on the material, of course, you're going to be broken. You're going to be sad because we have been told from day one the material will fail you. And we were not wise enough to realize and to hold on to that and to stay in our space in the company of God, enjoying the company of God with others, in them and understanding that that's what we love about them. That's what we enjoy about them. And when bodies die, people don't go away. People manifest their true nature by becoming the love that is within you. Right? That's why you like them. That's why you love people, because when you're with them, that love within you, which is God, it has nothing to do with that other person. Somehow that person's reminding you of it, but you're blaming them. You're thinking, oh, that person is here, and now I love that person, and I'm enjoying love from that person, but you're not enjoying love from that person. You're enjoying the love that is arising within your own self. And the importance of that, and I've said this before, is that when people do go, when tragedies do happen in this life, we have to remember that person is not the body, never was the body. They had problems with that body their whole life long. That body caused them trouble and struggle their whole life long, right? And now now the time comes when they're free. And what we should remember is the love that they gave us, the love that I feel when I think of them. That is who they are, not the body. They are that love that you feel from them, that you experience from them. That is eternal. That will remain to the end when you drop the body, right? Because you will think of this loved one, their body's gone, but they're not the body. Why weep for that? They never were, right? They were always love, a manifestation of love, right? And now when the bodies go, they leave us with themselves. They dwell within us. They will always be here. And if you can get yourself to understand that, it'll be a great gift, because if you don't understand that, you will always be sad at their memory. If you don't understand that they are not the body, that you are not the body, you will always be sad at the memory of the people you have loved, because the bodies are gone, right? But if you understood the lesson that you are not the body, which we have said 1,000 billion times in our classes alone, right? If you believe that but once, you have a treasure every time you remember them. Because every time you remember them, what happens? That love vibrates. That love that they were and are. And that way their memory becomes a joy to you, because you can enjoy their company in the memory, in being, right? And so you know that. And when the bodies drop for ourselves, then there's union, right? There's union. There's that togetherness that you were seeking in their life when they were living, right? You get that ultimately through union. That's what it is to merge into God, right? We merge into that which was our favorite loves, our favorite, companions, our favorite partners, our favorite friends. To merge into God is to merge into all of them, right? Is to become one with all of your favorite things in the only authentic way. To get not their manifestations, but to get the thing itself. Right? And so he's saying, let go of these lesser desires, these lesser attachments, these things that have to do with the changing. Drop them. Go forward. He says, he says, until you realize the unsatisfactoriness of everything, its transiency, that it's, that's the thing that's obvious to us, right? Instead of hurting for it, understand its nature. It's transient. It's supposed to happen this way. This is normal. This is positive. This is good. Don't let the mind ruin a beautiful thing, right? And that this is just life in general. Don't let the mind, don't let the body ruin a beautiful thing. Hold on to these truths and build on them, right? Build on them. So it's transiency, it's limitation, and collect your energies into one great longing, right? Into one great longing. Even the first step is not made, right? Until we've come to at least that. We haven't taken the first step forward. He's really emphasizing the importance here, right? We have to gather our love for objects through discernment and realizing that all of them are simply a collection of God's names, God's attributes, our divine attributes, right? Come to know that. Come to know that firmly within yourself by paying attention to life. Life is trying to teach you this at every turn, right? Accept that. That's the first step forward. And then look at this bundle of love that you've had that has been dispersed to objects that reflect God's name. Now you have a bundle of love within your arms that is now channeling in the right direction because you've discerned the nature of your desires. You've understood that all of your desires were for your own divine nature. All qualities of your divine nature, your highest potentials and possibilities. Right? And so to know this and to be able to have that love then to inspire you forward and to work on, in your life, to be the gas, I guess, of your discipline, of your reaching, of your imagined quest. So he says, on the other hand, the integrity of the desire for the Supreme is by itself a call from the Supreme, right? The desire for the Supreme, even if you have the slightest call, the slightest desire, know that that's a personal invitation from your divine beloved. A personal invitation. Think about that. Meditate on that. Open to that. God, which we have no idea what that means, but God herself is reaching out toward you, and it comes to you in the form of a desire for her, for that, right? The integrity of the desire for the Supreme is by itself a call from the Supreme. Nothing physical or mental, right? Body or mind. Nothing physical or mental can give you freedom. Nothing. So collect all the things you want from this world. It'll just make it harder to die. Hold on to all the things you can in this world. It'll just make it more of a misery to be old. But grab your own spirit, which hasn't aged a moment since your birth. Grab your own nature, this pure love that has been the blessing of every good relationship and every satisfying experience, right? Grab that love and build on the unchanging. Build on that rock. I am love. I am wisdom. And let that manifest. And that can give you freedom. You are free once you understand. Oh, this is a good sentence. I love this one. You are free once you understand that your bondage is of your own making, and you cease forging the chains that bind you. Right? So understand all of your bondage has come because of your petty desires, wanting things that could give you nothing and insisting on holding on to them. Right? That's how we get stuck. That's how we lose our freedom. That's how we get caught in the grinder of this world. Right? Because we forget there's nothing here for us. This is a manifestation of our beloved. It is the jewelry of God. Right? So we just look at it and see it as such and fall in love with that which is behind it. Don't fall in love with the beautiful mountain. Fall in love with the unchanging just behind it. Don't fall in love with a beautiful husband or a beautiful wife. Fall in love with the beautiful reality that is manifesting them. Right? So we hold on to that. You are free once you understand that your bondage is of your own making, right? Through your discernment, watching how this works, how this happens, It's all very clear. It's not hidden from us. We just don't pay attention. Don't pay attention because our priority is often to enjoy, right? To find peace in things because we think we are a thing. We think that we're a body and a mind. But your bondage is of your own making, and you cease forging the chains, right? That means getting rid of these petty, these unauthentic desires that he mentioned. Forging the chains, right? Think about that. When that's part of your discernment. When you realize it's like, gosh, I just want to have another cocktail. And instead of saying that, say to yourself, gosh, I just want another chain on my body holding me down. I just want another thing to ruin my life in the long run. Be clear. Be honest about these things because our desires in the world are not true. They're not our desires, right? They're the desires of a thought process, the desires of a restless mind, of an aging body. But they're not of me, who's simply watching it all happen. Now he asks the second question here, the burning question for so many people in the world anyway. He says, how does one find the faith in a guru? Right? How does one find the faith in a guru? And look what he says. He says to find the guru and also the trust in him is rare luck. It does not happen often, right? So he's asking, how do we find a guru that we can trust, that we can actually be like, whew, this is the one, right? Well, think of the irony of it. Even though it's a spiritual topic and a spiritual process, you're thinking of it in a worldly way. You've placed a guru outside of yourself, and you're looking for one that's going to be meaningful and deep and perfect, right? Can that be found in this world? No, right? For most of us, unless we're lucky enough to have a Jesus or a Ramakrishna, to as a guru, which could happen. If you do find that guru, please come and let me know. But in general, it doesn't happen in that way. So what does he say here? He says to find a guru and also trust in him is rare luck. It does not happen often. Questioner, well, is it destiny that ordains it? I mean, how does it come? And Maharaj, he says, calling it destiny explains little. When it happens, you cannot say why it happens, and you merely cover up your ignorance by calling it karma or grace or the will of God. Right? And our questioner says, well, Krishnamurti says that a guru is not needed. Right? A guru is not needed. And actually, Sri Nisargadatta says that in one place too. But so here he says, Maharaj, somebody must tell you about the supreme reality and the way that leads to it, right? Because yes, it is obvious, but you're not looking. You're not paying attention. Yes, you could get there on your own, but you don't know where to look. You're stuck looking outside. You're stuck in your senses. And so a guru is necessary because you've gotten yourself stuck, right? You parked in the bog with your car and now you can't get out of the swamp. You're stuck in it. So now you need to go find somebody to pull you out, to pull your car out, right? And you're like, but most of us are silly. We're stuck in the bog. We're stuck in the swamp. Our wheels are spinning on our car. We can't get out of the parking place. And somebody says, oh, here, let me pull you out with my car. And you're like, no, 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 thank you. I don't want another car. My car is fine. My car works. I am the guru. I have an inner guru. I don't need a car, right? I don't need a car to pull me out. I'll just sit here and rev my wheels in my stuck car in the swamp because I'm too proud to admit that I need someone's help, right? So he's saying, don't be that character. Don't be that character. Somebody must tell you about the supreme reality and the way that leads to it. Krishnamurti is actually doing nothing else but that, right? So he may say you don't need a guru, but he was the guru that told you you didn't need a guru. So there's an irony there. He says he may say that people don't need gurus, but that's all he's doing is being a guru, being a teacher. In a way, he is right. Most of the so-called disciples do not trust their gurus. They disobey them, and finally they abandon them. For such disciples, it would have been infinitely better if they'd had no guru at all and just looked within for guidance. To find a living guru is a rare opportunity and a great responsibility. One should not treat these matters lightly. You people are out to buy yourself the heaven, and you imagine that the guru will supply it for a price. That's an interesting statement, right? You think that your guru is a means of you purchasing in advance on heaven. It's not that way, right? It's not that way. You people are out to buy yourself a heaven, and you imagine that the guru will supply it for a price. You seek to strike a bargain by offering little but asking much. You cheat nobody but yourselves. Right? Out to buy a heaven, thinking that a guru will turn that for us. Oops. But we don't trust our guru. Our guru gives us an instruction, we don't do it. Tells us how to meditate, we come up with our own way. Right? Tells us to stay in touch, we never call. We never check in. Right? Having a guru is a great responsibility. But we cheat no one but ourselves. The questioner, you were told by your guru that you are the supreme and you trusted him and acted on it. What gave you this trust? Maharaj, say, I was just reasonable. It would have been foolish to distrust him. What interest could he possibly have in misleading me? Right? That's a good question. What would it value that person to mislead you? Questioner, you told a questioner that we are the same, that we are equals. I cannot believe it. Since I do not believe it, of what use is your statement to me? Maharaj, your disbelief does not matter, right? Your disbelief does not matter. My words are true, and they will do their work. This is the beauty of noble company, right? Satsang. He says, it doesn't matter if you believe me or not. What I have said is truth, and it will have its effect. Truth is a power in and of itself, right? Questioner, well, just sitting near you, can it be considered spiritual practice? Maharaj, of course. Why? Because you're acting on a divine prompt, right? You're sitting next to a spiritual teacher, and you're making the plan to be next to a spiritual teacher, and you're making the effort to be next to a spiritual teacher. That's practice, right? That's recognizing the value of holy company. The river of life is flowing, right? So the river of life is flowing, and some of its water is here, but so much of it has already reached its goal. You know only the present. I see much farther into the past and the future, into what you are and what you can be. I cannot but see you as myself. It is in the very nature of love to see no difference. Right? It is in the very nature of love to see no difference. That statement can take you a very long way toward beauty, toward God. Questioner, well, how can I come to see myself as you see me? Maharaj, it is enough if you do not imagine yourself to be the body. It is the I am the body idea that is so calamitous. It blinds you completely to your real nature. Even for a moment, do not think that you are the body. Give yourself no name. Give yourself no shape. In the darkness and the silence, reality is found. right? Take nothing from the mind. That's really what he's saying, right? Where all of the thoughts happen, take nothing from there. Take nothing from the body. Don't go to it for any of your satisfactions. Don't put any of your longings there. Don't put your desires there. And don't put it in the body or the mind. It is the I am the body idea that is so calamitous. It blinds you completely to your real nature. Even for a moment, do not think that you are the body. Give yourself no name, no shape. In the darkness and the silence, reality is found. And just as a little trinket of experience, something that I found uh, helped me to get quiet and to go deeper inside was to say to myself or to remind myself, I identify with silence. That's who I am. I am silence, right? But I'm a very pregnant silence. I'm a silence of pure potential. Everything is possible, right? I am the light that can show any movie, that can play any story, become any scene, any object, and go into that silence. We have to go in our meditations. We have to relax into our mantra so deeply that we fall into a space before the mind and before the body, where we're literally looking at them from a little bit of distance, right? And that silence is so beautiful because it's a knowing. It's a knowing of what you are without a single sound, without a single explanation, without a single factoid. It's just the very nature of your isness. And you understand it completely, not with your mind, but with the self. You know it to be true, right? It's like yesterday. This is an interesting, well, it's a stretch of a metaphor, but it was so striking. Yesterday, when I was working at Transition House and we were had finished serving all the food and we were just sort of putting things away in the kitchen, one of the guys turned off the exhaust fan on the oven. They have all those commercial exhaust hoods, and a noise that I had not even been aware of disappeared. And the silence that was left was so satisfying. It was such a relief. You didn't realize the amount of tension that that fan noise was causing in you without your knowledge because you weren't even aware of the fan noise. It had been going when I got there and it was going all the time and I just hadn't even thought about it. But when it went away, oh, what a relief inside I felt. It was such a strange thing. And I was brought to my attention because the guy who turned off the switch, before he did it, he said, okay, everybody, get ready for this. And he clicked it off. And all of us felt that communal, like, oh, wow. And we joked about it. We laughed, like how such a thing could be. That fan is the effect of your body and mind on you, a constant source of noise and stress that you have learned to tolerate, but have no longer recognized. And I can say that the moment you step away from it, your first thought is going to be, oh, wow, wow, to be safe again, to be whole again, to be unconfused again. Question. Must not I think with some conviction that I am not the body? Where am I to find such a conviction? Maharaj, behave as if you were fully convinced and confidence will come. Is this not what we've been talking about? Accept your realization as it is already there, and confidence will come. Accept grace, that there is nothing necessary to be done or to change, and confidence will come. accept the reality of an unborn, undying, ever free, loving, wise self. Assume it. Behave as if it's actually true. Confidence will come. Behave as if you were fully convinced, and the confidence will come. What is the use of mere words? Right? And all thought are just mere words. There's no point in them. A formula, a mental pattern will not help you, but unselfish action, free from all concern with the body and its interests, will carry you to the very heart of reality. Love. Love, love. Do things for love's sake. Do it because love is beautiful. Not for your salvation, not for your enlightenment. Do it simply because love is the one most beautiful thing. You know, when I'd been in the monastery for 6 years, I've told this, I've told everything. I don't know why I keep saying that. But anyway, when I'd been in the monastery 6 years, I had a great doubt come over me, mostly because I realized that my computer skills were becoming obsolete and I wasn't keeping them up and worrying about them anymore. And so my safety hatch was disappearing. And I had a little bit of a panic. I was like, are you sure about this? You've put all of your eggs in one basket. You know, you now have a 6-year hole in your resume. Are you sure this is what you want to do? Right? Are you sure? And I got really nervous. And thank goodness when I get nervous, I went to the shrine and I sat there in the shrine and I thought to myself, wow, is this a good decision that I've made? Is this the right thing? And I sat there and I was like, well, imagine what if it's not true? What if Vedanta is not true? What if I'm not eternal? What if I'm not unborn? What if I'm not God? What if I just die? And I sat there and contemplated on that for a while. I thought, well, if I just die, then does it matter what I do with my life? Not at all. Nothing matters. If there's nothing, then there's nothing. And I said, in the light of there being nothing, to live a life where my ideal is to become a perfect lover, where my ideal is to know love completely. That's the best life you could choose in a situation where there is nothing. So I thought, even if there's no God, even if Vedanta is absolutely false, it is by far a beautiful thing to chase an ideal of love in your life. And then I thought, that's true. And it's self-satisfying. It's a beautiful thing for its own sake. And so if there's nothing and all of this is not true, right, which is what I was feeling or be afraid of back then, 21 years later, there's no danger of there not being nothing. Now we have a cherry on top, right? Now we have a cherry on top. And so he's saying here, behave as if you were fully convinced, the confidence will come. What is the use of mere words? A formula, a mental pattern will not help you, but unselfish action, free from all concern with the body and its interests, will carry you to the very heart of reality. Right? So constantly think today, any opportunity you have for a selfless action, do it. Hold this new awareness in your mind to be constantly scanning the horizon like Peace Pilgrim, looking for an opportunity for some selfless service. Right? Anywhere, anything, find it and do it. It's a treasure and it will take you to the very heart of reality, he says. Questioner, well, where am I to get the courage to act without conviction? Right? How am I going to accept my realization when I don't feel my realization? Right? How do I do this? Maharaj, love will give you the courage. Love grows when you do unselfish action. Love increases when you perform unselfish action. When you meet somebody wholly admirable, love-worthy, sublime, your love and admiration will give you the urge to act nobly. right? And that's what presence does, right? That's what presence does. As that awareness of a palpable presence of the divine principle within you, as you begin to get acquainted with that and recognizing it, and then it begins allowing you to have a sense of bliss of your nature, right? That will give you the courage. That's what will take you forward when your practice begins to show you, right? Uh, Actually, it's not really the practice that begins to show you. The practice just simply helps you clear away the dross, helps you clear away the egoism that has blinded you, right? And then we slowly become aware. It happens with a good meditation one day where something just like, whoa, what was that? As soon as you ask that question in meditation, get ready, right? Get ready because mother's playing. Love will give you the courage. When you meet somebody holy, admirable, love-worthy, sublime, right, which is God, that's who you're meeting in your practice. Your love and admiration will give you the urge to act nobly. It will change you. You will be changed by the presence. You will be changed in the company of God. Questioner, well, not everybody knows to admire the admirable. Most people are totally insensitive. Maharaj, life will make them appreciate. Right? Remember, life is religion. Life will make them appreciate. The very weight of accumulated experience will give them eyes to see. When you meet a worthy man, you will love and trust him and follow his advice. This is the role of realized people, to set an example of perfection for others to admire and to love. Beauty of life and character is a tremendous contribution to the common good. Right? You'll be a blessing. You'll be a blessing to everyone just by being what you are, just by being true to your nature. Can you imagine what you're going to be like when you have a habit of selfless service? Can you imagine? When you become a master of selfless service. Selfless means no egoism in it. You're not doing it to be seen. You're not doing it to be perfect. You're not doing it for any other reason than the joy of the thing itself. Can you imagine working with somebody who works just because they love it? Can you imagine somebody who's on your team and helping you just because they love it? What a glorious thing that is. What a delightful addition to life that is, right? Be that person. Be that person who's just always positive, always looking out for the good, always encouraging, always trying to find the best in the people around them, always trying to get people to see the best around them. And they do it not in some weird way. They do it quietly, almost unnoticeably, just going on steadily. How they've become reliable without you even realizing how much you rely on them. Because they're just so kind to you, so helpful to you, so engaged with you, so interested in you, right? Questioner, must we not suffer to grow? Right? No pain, no gain. Don't we have pain for gain? Isn't that necessary? Maharaj, it's enough just to know that there is suffering, that the world suffers. Why? Because that will poke your divine nature, because it is your nature to alleviate suffering. So it's enough to see the suffering, to know that it exists, that the world suffers. By themselves, neither pleasure nor pain enlighten. Everything outside of us is neutral until it meets us. We are that which gives value to the universe. We are that which gives meaning to the manifestation. Right? By themselves, neither pleasure nor pain enlighten. Only understanding does. Once you have grasped the truth that the world is full of suffering, that to be born is a calamity, You will find the urge and the energy to go beyond it. Pleasure puts you to sleep and pain wakes you up. If you do not want to suffer, don't go to sleep. You cannot know yourself through bliss alone. For bliss is your very nature. You must face the opposite, what you are not, to find enlightenment. Interesting. It's a very strong statement right there that it was a calamity to be born, right? But that's there. But this statement right here, very simple. Pleasure puts you to sleep, and pain wakes you up. Yeah. Isn't that true? When we get comfortable, when we're in the pleasant, we're comfortable, right? That's one of my kind of tongue-in-cheek complaints about Santa Barbara. I tell everybody there's an intoxication of comfort here that isn't helpful to spiritual life. You know, it's like, so if you pay attention to it as comfortable, you'll get lost in it. You'll get lost in the reverie of just a nice beachside community with sunny 75 weather every day, right? And a constant changing beauty of nature around you. You can get caught in that, right? You can get caught in that. This intoxication of comfort. So instead of paying attention to how it's making you feel and how you're enjoying it, pay attention to where it's coming from. Look through it so that the beauty around you doesn't become a comfort to you. It becomes an attribute of the beloved, a reminder of his constant company, a reminder of grace, a reminder of your freedom and your enlightenment. So it's important. Don't look at the world. Look through it. No matter what, don't ever look at something beautiful and think that that thing itself is beautiful. The beauty is coming from God. It is one of God's names. Actively remember that so that you don't get intoxicated by the comfort of a beautiful rose, but rather you become inspired by the nature of God in a beautiful rose. Very different experiences of living, right? Very different experiences. Look through everything at that which it is manifesting. All right, we'll stop there for today.